Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. Today's an exciting day for me. It's spring and it's time to make some beer out of honey. And I'm at my favorite pub in the world. It's 2 Feet Brewing on Columbia Street in Bangor, Maine. And we're going to be making a braggot. Now this will be about the 4th time we've made this beer. Braggot is a beer where instead of using sugar from barley, you replace half of that sugar with honey, and that imparts the taste of the honey as well as the other ingredients like the hops and the barley tastes as well. So it ends up with a very easy to drink beer. I think it's called a session beer, and not too high alcohol content because we don't make it too strong. I want it to be something I could enjoy having a few pints of. And it's a great, to me now, it's a great taste of spring. We've been doing it now for a couple of years, and it is a really nice beer. So I'm going to join Corey Ricker in the pub, and we're going to make a big batch. And this is where the magic happens. This is the brewery of 2 Feet Brewing, and this is Corey Ricker, who is the master brewer of the pub, and we're going to make some Bee Whisperer Bragget. Okay, Corey, take it away.
All right, so we're brewing the Bee Whisperer Bragget. 2 Feet Brewing, we try to brew more traditional European styles. Bragget's a really old style. You don't see it that a lot. We're brewing a traditional Bragget. So half of our sugars are coming from a malt mash, half of our sugars are coming straight from honey. So right now we're brewing our wort. We're brewing about a 2.8% alcohol beer, really light beer, which means there's a whole pile of water in it, and the brewing is a little more intense because we're trying to get a lot of flavor out of a really small amount of malt. We start off our mash, we do a decoction mash, and we do a long mash. With the decoction, we get our mash started, and then we pull a good amount of the mash out and set it to boil in a separate kettle. So it pulls a lot more flavor out of the grains, it gives it a lot more depth of flavor. Then add it back to the mash after a half hour or so. And then we mash for about another hour after that. So it's a lot longer mash than typical beer. Typical beer, it's about an hour-long mash. This one's closer to 2 hours. Process run right now, we're transferring the mash tun to our boil kettle. Almost full now. Once we get our boil kettle filled, we're gonna start our boil. It's a 90-minute boil as opposed to typically it's an hour boil. Again, boiling a little bit longer to condense the liquid a little bit more, get a little more flavor out of the wort because it's a thin wort. Once we're 30 minutes in, we'll get to our normal 60-minute stance. That's where we'll add our first hops, our brewery hops. And it's very lightly hopped, this beer, just such a light beer. So typically you just add that one hop and then one more hop addition very late, just as an aroma and a light flavor hop. And when we get to about 5 minutes left to the boil, that's when we add our honey. We're adding 47 pounds of honey to this batch. So that will boost up our alcohol from about 2.8%. We're going to end up at about 5.4%. After that, we just do a whirlpool. Then we chill the wort, get it into our fermenter, and about 2.5 weeks later, we send it to carbonate. We'll have it on tap about a week later.
Great. That'll be sometime in May.
Yes.
Great. How many gallons is this brew here?
At boil, we're about 85 gallons. We'll end up with about 60 of finished beer.
Right. Can we look inside at all?
Oh, sure. Look at the grain mashed out as well.
Sure.
Right now you can see the grains getting way down there. You can see how empty that is. Typically in our normal beer that's about 3/4 of the way full. Shows what a light beer this is. Very different from everything else we brew.
More work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot longer day. We got about an extra 2.5 hours from a normal brew day today.
Right.
Get it as full as I can. Walk the fine line between boiling it over the edge.
Yeah, I think I remember when I was here the first time, it was boiling quite vigorously.
Yeah. Great load there.
I'm sorry.
So tell us
You're going to
about-
be able to edit this down?
I certainly can.
Okay.
I certainly can. So tell me about 2 Feet Brewing.
2 Feet Brewing is a little brew pub in downtown Bangor, and family run and operated. And Corey, my husband, brews the beer, and I make cakes, and Zach runs the place. And luckily, 2 years ago, I met you.
Yeah.
And you came up with this idea for this braggot. And braggots traditionally are very, very high in alcohol, and you wanted one that was low in alcohol and drinkable. And Corey made I think a 1.5% beer to mix with the mead to make the braggot, and it's basically one of our top selling beers. And it uses local honey, and so we love that because we're all about supporting local businesses. Everything in here is made in Maine. All of our beverages, wines, ciders, and everything. So supporting local, and so we love it.
That's great. We'll look forward to having a celebration in May when we get it on the shelves again.
Yep, finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yes.
A little bit more wood and a few more crates.
That's great. Thank you. And what's that?
Clarifier.
Right. And those are hops pellets.
Those are our hot pellets. About 5 minutes from them going in.
Right. Now you were saying that you put in hops twice. The first initial batch, which is boiled there for a while, gets the bitterness.
That's the bitterness, yeah.
And the hops that goes in very late in the boil is so it gets much more aroma.
Primarily aroma, yeah.
Right.
Small amount of flavor, but not much.
Fire away.
Those that we just added there, East Kent Golding and Morale hops.
Uh-huh.
Really floral, almost honey-like, slightly minty hops. Go really well with the honey flavor of the beer.
Right. I also noticed that you've been boiling for almost an hour and a half, and you've reduced the volume down by what,
That's
three
a good
inches or so?
3 gallons, 3 to 4
Three,
gallons.
4 gallons.
Yeah.
To concentrate the flavors.
Yeah.
now you've stopped the boiling process.
Now you stop boiling.
And this is where...
Pour in the honey. Start the whirlpool to get all the solids centered into the middle of the kettle. Get the honey well mixed in. Put the honey in after the boil to try to minimize boiling off the flavor and aromas of the honey.
Yeah. Yes, it helps warming up that bucket so it flows out of the bucket, that's for sure.
We learned in the first batch that whirlpooling alone doesn't mix the honey in. I have to actually stir it before starting the whirlpool.
Right.
So we got it whirlpooling now. That's gonna settle all our solids to the bottom of the tank, into the middle. So when I get to the point of running it off to the fermenter, we get nice clean wort headed that way. We get to the fermenter, we'll add our yeast. It'll sit in the fermenter for about 2 weeks. From that point, we move it over to the bright tank where we get it carbonated. It takes a few days, put it into kegs, and then we're gonna have it up on tap. This batch I should have ready probably by May 7th. We'll have this up on tap at 2 Feet Brewing, downtown Bangor.
That sounds like a day not to be missed. So, Columbia Street in Bangor, 2 Feet Brewing. Come and try some of this year's Bee Whisperer. Thanks very much, Rory.
Thank you.
I always enjoy doing that, watching him making the beer. What I enjoy even more is drinking the beer when it's ready. So according to Corey, it'll be up and in the taps by the 7th of May. So I definitely plan to be here on the 7th of May to christen the new barrels of Bee Whisperer Bragget, a honey beer. It's not sweet, it's actually fairly dry. You can taste the honey, but most of the sugar has been turned to alcohol. Also, there'll be outdoor seating and the street side covers put on as well. So even if it's bad weather, you can still sit outdoors here. Those are going up on the 1st of May. So there's room inside, room outside. So come and join us at 2 Feet Brewing, 7th of May, and have some Bee Whisperer Braggot, as well as their other beers. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.